Hi everyone, we're getting ready to play with my Barbie Little Theater, one of the hardest to find cardboard structures that was done in the early 60s. So get ready to learn a lot about the Little Theater costumes and the history of this fabulous Mattel product from 1964. In 1964, Elliot Handler had the idea to transform Barbie into the characters from fairy tales and create a little theater. It was going to be the mainline focus for 1964. So starting in 1963, the development of this began. At that time, there were 4 fashion designers that were working for Mattel. They were Kay Carter, Eileen Zublin, Dorothy Shue, and Carol Spencer. Carol Spencer had been newly hired and didn't work on this project, and Kay Carter would be early to leave in this project, so most of the credit is going to go to Eileen Zublin and Dorothy Shue. Dorothy Shue did some fabulous costumes for Barbie, including Benefit Performance and the costumes like Drum Majorette and Cheerleader. Eileen Zublin, we credit her for designing most of the line for Francie. She also did Senior Prom and some other fabulous things. Kay Carter, whom I'm just going to mention a little bit, had come from Hollywood. And so when it was time to design some of these fabulous costumes for Barbie, she really brought out that sort of old Hollywood sort of look. She created some very amazing renditions for Barbie and Ken, for Cinderella and Guinevere, that didn't make it in their final form, but are amazing, and they live in the Mattel archives now. So when this all started, they had to decide which fairy tales they wanted to tell, because at the time, Barbie had been very successful as a teenage fashion model. But at the end of the day, what they wanted to create was sort of that storybook thing. Madame Alexander and other companies had done storybook dolls as sort of like a collector, and they kind of felt that this could transition well for Barbie and create something that a child would want to collect them all, but then also have the play value of creating the scenes and the stories from those childhood fairy tales. And so here we go. First of all, one of the things they did was Peter Pan. They prototyped the costume for Peter Pan for both Barbie and Ken. Keep in mind, Mary Martin had made the Peter Pan role a success, playing the part as a woman, as the boy that never grew up. And neither one really kind of worked. They both didn't quite have the right fit. I think there was like possibly, the grown-up Ken doll, and then Barbie playing the role as the boy that never grew up was probably confusing. So they kind of canned that. However, it would resonate and find itself in the 1967 Little Kiddles, storybook Kiddles. So were Cleopatra and Mark Anthony. And I think the recent scandal with Liz Taylor and that movie kind of made it to where they didn't want to put that on the teenage fashion model doll. They did an Alice in Wonderland Skipper outfit and prototype and a Mad Hatter. Neither of those made the cut, but some of those still exist in the Mattel vault and the archives, which are pretty amazing. There were other things like the Napoleon costume for Ken, and just some amazing sort of like ideas and trials and errors that never made it to the actual line. But the final line that made it is really kind of interesting. So they created my favorite, which is Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. And they did a polka dotted dress for Barbie with the red cape and a wolf mask for the Ken doll. Ken came with, the Ken mask came with a mob cap so he could be grandma, or the little cap that he would wear as the boy wolf with a bow tie. It was very cute, but not much to the costume for Ken. In the illustration for this outfit, they kind of show Ken in his swim trunks hiding from behind a tree. Kind of gives new meaning to the word wolf. But In the World of Barbie magazine that was published that same year, they actually, for that magazine, created a full wolf costume for Ken, and it's really kind of dreamy, and I kind of wish they had made the whole thing now. So these images that you're seeing now are from that magazine. They also had proposed doing Sleeping Beauty. However, that never happened. The Sleeping Beauty Disney movie was very, not so distant and not so long in the distant past. It came out in 1959, so I kind of figured they didn't want to step on Disney's toes because there was still merchandise being produced with that on it. However, in the script that comes with the Cardboard Little Theater, there is a Sleeping Beauty play that you can act out. And also in the paper doll set, there's a poster for the Sleeping Beauty play that Barbie will play the starring role. Other costumes that they did were Cinderella and the Prince. Now, the Cinderella costume was done in yellow satin and tulle. Both of these materials were something that existed in the Mattel line of existing inventory of fabrics. Satin would have been dyed the appropriate color, and tulle they had from all the wedding gowns and stuff. So the costing for that costume was not that expensive, from the perspective that it was kind of a two-fashion set, because it also came with the poor Cinderella outfit. And that also used some existing fabrics, with the black dirndl bodice and the white sleeves being using the same fabric from the pack fashions from that previous year. It's a really cute costume. It comes with clear open-toe glitter pumps and a broom for poor Cinderella. The Prince costume utilizes a whole lot of new fabrications. The prototype for that was shown in red velvet and navy. However, the final produced item was done in a green and gold brocade, and then tights and a fabulous hat and slippers. And it came with a little velvet pillow with a clear spike pump. And this is the first time that we see the spikes used in Barbie's wardrobe. So it was a fabulous costume pair for both of them, and it was really a kind of a neat set, and probably one of the most pretty and playable sets that kind of would transition to creating a fun little look for Barbie. The others that they did were author in a fabulous armor kind of suit done with silver brocade and a plastic helmet and a tunic made of satin, which was the same satin as the pack separates. It came with a sword and spurs and a fabulous belt with a sheath for the sword. Very fabulous set. Guinevere, done in dark blue velvet, had a fabulous chain belt. It had these wristlets and then a fabulous hat and slippers. Kind of makes sense that we're working with that at a time that it was very popular and there would have not been any merchandise available. So it kind of plays into the whole idea of that. So they also did Arabian Nights, which were fabulous costumes for Barbie and Ken. Ken had this fabulous red coat done in the same velvet as everything at Mattel done in red velvet, which, red flare, silken flame, benefit performance. It was all done in red velvet, and so they just used some of that red velvet fabric. Fabulous sort of sheared up gold pants and a turban, and it came with the genie lamp. And then Barbie's Arabian Nights costume was a silk chiffon scarf, satin top, silk chiffon matching skirt, and gold slippers and bracelets and a fabulous necklace. These were really great costumes and very well thought of, and a lot of value went into them. So they were not very successful. The costumes would be carried over in the Mattel dealer catalogs in '65, but it was not a very successful thing. Personally, I think that the concept of the little theater didn't fit with the original narrative that Barbie was, which was a teenage fashion model doll, and you could play with the doll and kind of create the grown-up situations that you were seeing and playing, and you kind of created that sort of play pattern. I think the costumes and the idea of your dolls being dolls, then suddenly playing the part in a theater, was a little bit contrived. I don't think it originally fit, as I said, with that narrative. Um, but they enjoyed some success. They had fabulous things to go along with it. There was a set of paper dolls. They did this cardboard little theater that had changing scenery and backdrops and furnishings. And it was, like I said, one of the hardest to find structures. It has the curtain that raises and lowers. It's really clever. The costumes were great. So I think it could have been a lot of fun playing with it as a kid. But like I said, it didn't enjoy the success that they were anticipating. So it didn't enjoy a long life on the toy shelves. And you may say, well, Bradley, I loved them. Or Bradley, I see these all the time. Well, they had a quota to meet. And so they satisfied what they said they were going to do. A lot of it was clearance out. There were a lot of discount stores that carried these costumes and received them at a discount. So they're out there. They do turn up. They're fabulous. They're great to kind of have for variety to your collection. So the aftermath with them not selling at the level that they had hoped for is this. There was a lot of leftover fabric inventory from all of these costumes. And so Mattel, not wanting to be wasteful, the fabrics from things like the dress from the Little Red Riding Hood was used in many different things, including some of the late 60s pack pieces in the Sears exclusive Glamour group where they just used up leftover fabrics. Francie had a mod pack dress called Neat Pleat that came in a variety of fabrics, including the velvet that was used on Ken's Prince costume, both the green and the mustard colored, and the Guinevere blue velvet. So these fabrics did not go unused. They turned up in a lot of places. So they were a fabulous addition to, if you love a variation, it's fun to kind of find them. So for me, the Little Theater, not necessarily a favorite, but it's so exciting to kind of find these wonderful structures and get to have a fabulous little stage performance for Barbie. It makes for an awesome set to display your dolls. I enjoy it. I hope you'll enjoy it. And thanks for joining me here at this World Doll Day program.
Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.